There are clubs in London you'll never see listed in the directories, societies whose doors only open for the right kind of curiosity. My invitation came sealed in black wax. No return address, only the words, "For the relief of the overburdened mind." I thought it was a joke. I was wrong. And by the end of that night, I would hear the sound of a drill biting into my own skull. Dr. Wilfred Anscombe, renowned surgeon, notorious eccentric, cornered me outside the Royal College after a lecture on cerebral swelling. "You think too much, lad," he told me, pressing the envelope into my palm. "Too much thinking rots the mind. We have a remedy." Inside was a card. "The Trepanation Club requests the pleasure of your company. Black tie, bring a steady hand." I laughed it off until I saw the address, a townhouse in Mayfair, no number on the door. The doorman didn't ask my name, only pressed a finger to his lips and ushered me in. The air smelled of brandy, candle wax, and something metallic, like wet iron. Inside, men in velvet chairs recited verse by candlelight. Heavy drapes sealed out the city's noise. At the far end of the room, a long oak table, draped in white cloth. Instruments gleamed beneath the flicker of candelabras. "Poetry for the soul," Anscombe whispered, "and trepanation for the mind." The first patient was a pale, sweating gentleman in evening dress, seated as if awaiting a portrait. A man in tails recited Tennyson, while another selected a hand-cranked drill, polished to a mirror shine. They swabbed the scalp, parting the hair as tenderly as a barber. Then, without ceremony, the drill began to turn. The sound was like a key in a stubborn lock. The man did not scream, only sighed as though some great pressure had lifted from him. "Thoughts," Anscombe murmured to me, "must have an escape, or they ferment." Over brandy, they explained. The skull is a vault, and too much thought is dangerous. The ancients drilled the head to release miasmas of the spirit. They had merely perfected the art. One member swore he no longer dreamed of drowning since his trepanation. Another claimed his poetry improved. I laughed, but the laughter sounded wrong in that hushed room.
"You've the hands for it," Anscombe told me, pouring another brandy.
"But first you must understand the gift, from the inside." The men around the table turned their faces toward me, expectant, hungry. I shook my head, chuckling, until two of them rose and placed their hands on my shoulders. "Only a small hole," Anscombe said, "just enough for your thoughts to breathe." They sat me in the oak chair, fastening leather straps around my wrists. The instruments were laid out like silverware at a banquet. I tried to stand, but the brandy swam in my head. The room tilted. Anscombe's voice grew distant. "You'll hear the drill before you feel it." The crank began to turn. I felt the vibration in my teeth, then a pressure, deep and dull. Something warm slid down my temple. The candlelight seemed to swell and swim. Words blurred into colors. Someone was reciting a poem about a shipwreck, but the waves were inside my skull. There was a faint pop, like cork from a bottle. And then, clarity. All my doubts, my worries, they poured out through that little hole. Anscombe's face hovered above me. He was smiling. "See? The mind breathes again." I returned the next week, and the week after that, at first to watch, then to drill. The club grew under my hand. Anscombe passed away, though we made sure his thoughts had room to escape before he went. Now, I sit at the head of the table. The brandy is poured, the poetry is read, and the drills, they never stop. Consider this your invitation. Brandy's poured, the drill's ready, subscribe, and take your seat.